Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt. I will be your alchemist this evening, and I'm here with a familiar face. I'm here with Lee Simmonds. Hello, Lee. How you doing?
Hello. We are indeed in a tavern. I'm drinking my whiskey, and we're going to have a good old fun time.
Indeed, we are. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, in fact, if you've been watching episode 10, you'll know who Lee is. Well, you'll at least have seen Lee before. But who is Lee, and what is Lee, and where is Lee? And why is Lee?
Who, what, where, and why? Who is Lee? Okay,
Indeed.
Well, my name is Lee Simmonds. I am one of Matthew Waterhouse's oldest friends. And outside of being a fantastic friend, I am a coach in several spaces, the men's space, relationship space, and on the other side of the business, more Jungian psychology, getting into people's brains, rewriting their stories, the limiting stories that they have, and lifestyle design. What kind of life do you want to live? Because we've probably only got one, and if we don't, that's a bit of a bet to take, really. Oh, I might come back. What if I don't? But yes,
what if you don't? Yeah, that's the main.
There's the bloody website.
There it is. In progress, but it will be finished
in progress. It's always in progress.
In the meanwhile, he's also here.
So that's who. What am I? I've already said that. Why am I? Why do I do this?
Yeah.
I kind of fell into this, actually.
Right.
So I went to university to study media production. And we had a long loving tradition of making films, didn't we? When we were younger, we had that camcorder, and we'd make films and things like that with our friends.
We would indeed, yes.
Loved it. Continued to do that throughout university. And my sister's boyfriend at the time, he was also into filmmaking, and he was quite prolific in the YouTube space. And this is sort of like in the late noughties, early 2010s. So when 1 million views was like a really big deal.
Yeah, what was his thing? He was part of a group of people.
Victoria's Sponge was their name.
Victoria's Sponge, that was it.
They were a comedy group. They still work occasionally and things like that. And they were really quite prolific in sort of like the comedy skit space and everything like that. He took me to like the YouTube studios once, so he was sort of really well connected. I hooked him up with like this competition with Sky, where you'd end up working with Idris Elba. I got like third in the public vote, and he like won it. So ended up working with Idris Elba. And it still seemed like such a real slog for him. And I was like, I don't have that kind of passion for this. I'm not going to be going to London doing 18-hour days for this.
Was it that, or was it that like the passion would be easily sucked out of you?
I think so. I think it was those two things, and like going and going and going, and still not really getting everything that I wanted out of it. Like it was sporadic work for him. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I hope he's doing really well.
Well, I mean, I had a similar thing, I think, and you'll know this already, but where my love for acting and drama and all that sucked out of me through university.
Yeah.
By kind of being around those people and being around certain lecturers who were weirdos, and being around like just the general vibe, which was just like, oh, this is not me at all. And this is how the writing kind of came to the fore, really.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, isn't it? Because you were dealing in stories then, and I was dealing in stories then. So I did a bit of like viral marketing for like companies like Pepsi and things like that. I almost got to go to like the Shanghai International Film Festival, but it was like really sporadic.
I worked with you on that.
You did? No, that was another one. We were trying to get into another film festival for that. I think it was Barcelona. But I was putting all of these viral marketing things out to all these film festivals, almost getting in, almost not. But we were both making stories. So then I bailed out because I saw sort of what it was doing to him. I think like it sort of affected their relationship quite a lot. Like she was never seeing him, so they sort of called it quits. I was like, I better get a real job then. So I ended up working for a bank. I ended up going and working in a call center, shooting right up that really quick, and ended up managing like one of their satellite offices for like lost and stolen debit cards. Money was good, um, but it was killing me. It was
Mm.
absolutely killing me. And I was in a relationship which was really good throughout university, a real love story. She was a really great girl, and then we both sort of did long distance, and then it got a bit testy. I won't get into the nitty gritty details of it, but it
Mm.
ended up in me just shooting down the pan. I had a full mental breakdown about it. I ended up in sort of my parents' garden in my dressing gown, sat on the floor crying and going, "Oh, this is probably not right. It
Mm.
probably shouldn't be like this. This doesn't feel
Mm.
normal." I've been
What?
sort of holding a
Yeah.
lot of this in. Um,
You had the what am I doing moment.
all of it, yeah. I was and it's just really, really profoundly sad. And
Mm.
this was like a long period of it. I'm like, right, I need to get some help.
Mm.
So I went into therapy. Luckily, the place I was living in at the time, there was like a free mental health service for like that postcode.
Mm.
So for like the area you lived in, which is like really unheard of in the UK. I think we're still really trying to ramp up our sort of mental health capabilities and things like that. I think we're
Mm.
still really underserved. But I was really lucky. Did that and then sort of found the power to leave the company that I was in because my boss was great, but my boss's boss was a bully.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the relationship was going down the pan, everything was going wrong, and sort of after 6 weeks, I had the power to leave the relationship, I had the power to leave the job, and think about what I actually wanted to do.
Mm.
And sort of long story short, sort of conversations here, conversations there, I realized, yeah, I remembered that I wanted to travel. So the first time I ever left this country on my own was to Hungary, Budapest, to see you for your birthday.
Mm. Yes.
All that time ago, Matt. So we're looking what
25th.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
eight,
My
7, 8
25th.
years ago. Um, loved Budapest. Went back, got another job in a bank, which was a better bank, better money. Took them for all they were worth for 6 months and packed my bags and was like, right, I need to do this properly.
Mm.
So went round Europe on all these adventures, and it's really great. Just sort of trying to, being with myself and understanding who I was as a young man, which I kind of should have maybe done at university, but should's a dirty word. I didn't. It was sort of party lifestyle.
I feel
But
like it's hard to do at university.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think anyone. I mean, I don't know. I'd be generalizing, but I certainly didn't
No.
have that worked out at university at all. It took until probably a couple of years after leaving that I
Mhm.
had any inkling.
Yeah, I think I was the same. So I went around Europe, ended up back in Budapest, got my card stolen, I got pickpocketed, and this was before the days of like easy access to money through like internet banking and things like that. I had to
Mm.
send like a Western Union transfer to myself, get the money, then cancel my card. So I had a bit of money left until I could get my card sent out again. And ended up meeting a guy in a bar. I have so many stories of meeting people in bars and things like that. I've had like got one of my best jobs from talking to a woman at a bar. I ended up working in this like this theater kind of place, and she was like, "Do you want to come and like volunteer?" Like, yeah, started painting doors and ended up working on their sound team, and it was really good. And met this guy in a bar, and he's like, "Well, the only thing I had about £10 of foreign, the Hungarian currency,
Mm.
and a one-way ticket to Bucharest on the train." And by luck, met this guy. I was like, well, I've got a load of friends out there. I'll put you in a group chat when group chats weren't even a thing either. And maybe you can go for coffee with some of them. Most of the people dropped out of that group chat really quick. Probably most of my friends that I know there now probably just went,
Okay.
nah, you know.
Yeah.
Two people stayed. Two people stayed. There was a girl and a guy that went for coffee with me, and the girl, her name was Roxy. Um, sort of became my tour guide for for Bucharest and like took me around. We went like for drinks and took me to all these cool places. And one of the last nights I was there, was heading up to a place called Cluj-Napoca in the north of Romania to wait for my card. So
Transylvania, right?
Indeed, yes, we are deep in Dracula territory by that point. Yeah.
Mm.
And she says, "Well, there's this party tonight. One of our friends is leaving. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, cool." So I went there, and I was there, and yeah, I mean, you know me, Matt. I love women. I love being around them. I
Do
find it
you?
very easy to talk to them. I find it easier to talk to women than I do men. Really, I think that was because I never got into football, so I was never really too closely in with guys. When like the guys would be playing football in middle school, I'd be telling jokes to girls.
Mm.
So never really had a problem with it. I walk into this party and there are supermodel class, like beauty wise women and men who knew how to speak to them. And it was the first time I ever felt out of my depth. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I sort of go out on this balcony, have a chat with myself, and I'm like, no, like you're out in this world to have a good time. We've got nothing else to do tonight. Go in there, find the person who's like running the party, not the person whose party it is, like the who is this party like orbiting around. Find this person, make them your friend, you'll have a good time. We go in there, there's this guy, a little bit of an older guy, looks a bit like a pirate, and he's got this tattoo of an A on his arm. And I'm like, I'm going to talk to this guy. I'm going to make this guy my friend. So I go up there, that's my in, talk about the tattoo. He goes, oh, that's my company. Have you read the book The Game? No. For people watching this who don't know anything about the book The Game, this was the thing that started off the pickup movement in like 2005 or 6 or something. Basically it was just a bunch of like nerds. Basically the pickup movement was started by nerds who didn't know how to talk to women, so they were all talking to each other going, how do we do this, right? So there was a lot of nefarious stuff that came out of the pickup movement. Sort of a lot of dodgy psychological tactics that came out of this.
Yeah,
and he was,
which is where all the bad stuff probably is coming from. I imagine where all the bad press for it is coming from.
I think so, yeah, because I mean it's not gone away. By no means has that movement gone away. It just got put under the like they just went into holes.
I don't even know if they did. I think it's still very much a thing that is happening in a lot of groups kind of online.
But are they as visible as they used to once be? Because it like back in that era. So anyway,
maybe not. This is like pre Me Too and stuff, isn't it?
Exactly. So
yeah, probably then, they're a bit more.
Well, this is how the pickup movement was back then. So he was in a chapter called The Natural. He basically didn't need to do anything. He just like this guy's called Zan Perrin, and he's just a nice dude. But like step number 1, guys, if you feel a bit worried about talking to women, just be nice. Just be nice. Have like something about you, like try and be funny, like practice being charismatic, telling stories. Be nice. Right. Don't be a dick, you know. So it's like I was like, oh, I did read that book back then. So yeah, back in my youth, sort of 18, 19, I used to go out with a guy and we'd sort of read through the book and we'd go out and do game. And the way I always saw game was that this is a game that is supposed to be fun for everyone. I know I'm playing game, you know I'm playing game. Let's like joust a little and like see who wins, right?
So it's like D&D when it's played right.
No, absolutely.
It's a collaborative game.
Yeah, like you know that I'm coming in and I'm going to be saying certain things to you, and you're going to dig at me, and I'm going to dig at you. We know the game of seduction that we're playing, right?
Right. Okay.
I'm not going to trick you. You need to be complicit in your seduction, like that. Right. That's 100%. I don't want to convince you. So I always played it like that, and then we'll probably come on to what happened sort of later. But in the heyday of the game, they were like MTV had like shows about these guys. Like there was like a guy called Mystery. Do you remember Mystery?
No.
There was the Mystery Method. He had a show on MTV. There was loads of shows about pickup and things like that. And people obviously made bank out of it. I met Mystery last year. Actually, he was doing a boot camp in Bucharest. He was just a massive nerd as well. He knew loads of magic tricks. So he was just a bit of a magician, and that was fun, you know.
I
So
mean,
he'd just go around bars doing magic tricks.
I mean, it's a conversation starter, isn't it?
Yeah, and he was there.
My cousin tried that. I don't know if it worked or not, but it's. I mean, it's just a thing.
It's an icebreaker.
Yeah.
I knew of another guy who was like a really good magician, and he said a lot of them are like really socially anxious people, and they hide behind the mystery and the wonder of it to get in. This is their in.
Mm-hmm.
To get like, fine. I don't want to just be like, hello, my name's Lee. Like, fine. I'll just have my prop, you know, my safety blanket to go out and talk to people and like meet friends and maybe meet a girlfriend and things like that. But yeah, so he was written about in this book, and he's like, well, I've got this book as well. Like, I can give it to you if you want. I was like, yeah, okay, brilliant. I'll read that. I chucked it in my backpack, didn't read it for 2 years.
Okay.
Right, that was it. And then eventually a guy sent me a video of like another guy that was into sort of dating and sort of like the manosphere, a guy called Brian Bajian, and this guy Zan was in. I thought, I've got that guy's book. I'll read his book. And the book is called The Alabaster Girl, and it was a book written for women. It was a book about women for women, which is a very interesting claim to make by a man. I don't necessarily know if you could get away with that now.
Probably
but this
not.
came out about 10 years ago. However, whenever he talks to women about it, and whenever I'm talking to women about it, I've never had a crossword about it.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is interesting. I think there's a lot to talk about in this realm tonight. We may get stuck just in this sphere tonight.
I mean,
anyway,
ideally not.
Yeah.
How did he get away with that?
He just wrote it and put it out. And
well, I mean, so what is the book essentially? Like, how has he managed to kind of? Because if it's still somewhat relevant to people, at least the people who are familiar with it. I mean, is it still familiar now? Is it still read now, or is it something that was read and is?
I think it's still being read now, like, because that's like, long story short, I eventually ended up working with him off the back of this book. There was like a bit in it which was like, you can change your life in 3 months. You can change every single bit about your life if you want to, where you are, who you're with, what you do. I took that as a bit of a challenge. Reached out to him after 2 years and was like, hey, you probably don't remember me, but I fucking love this passage. He's like, well, I've got this community around sort of like dating, relationship, seduction. You can join it if you want. And I was like to myself, I was in a relationship at that point. I was like, I don't really need that. But if there's like loads of guys trying to improve themselves, that sounds pretty fun. Because I was never into personal development before that. I was like, there's like a community where I can, like, there could be men all around the world. Now, I really like traveling. So if I'm, dropping into like Munich and there's like 3 guys that I already know there, my life has become a lot easier making friends. So I was like, I can join a secret boys club. This is brilliant. Went through it, was really sort of vocal in the community about all my travels and what I've been learning. And then eventually they picked me up as a coach within their company. I loved it. Loved it. That was in 2018 when I was traveling the world again. Went back to the corporate world after I traveled Europe. Hated it. Went traveling again, traveled around the world, and started coaching there. Came back when COVID happened. Well, there was like whispers of something happening, and I was around Southeast Asia at that point. I was in Bali at that point. I was like, do I stay here or do I go home? And I came home. I don't know if that was the right choice. I don't know. It would have taken me about 2 years to get out of Bali, but because they locked down, they just went.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, it's a tricky question.
Could have been on a desert island, but I could have been there for 2 years. Who knows what my life would have been like? Probably would have still been coaching, and it would have been a difficult place to coach from. I remember my first coaching call ever was when I came to see you in Japan. So my first ever coaching call was at 3 a.m. at the top of some like hostel in Japan, talking about aliveness when I'm half asleep.
Right.
And that was like my first ever like collaborative coaching call that I ever did. So I worked with them for 9 months. I still work with them now, but I was working with them freelance for 9 months. I was like, I really like this. And
Hmm.
I'd done some sort of like some professional development stuff because I was like management level in banks and the education industry and things like that. I was like, well, that's transferable. Can I start a business out of this? So I started it in the midst of like in the like balls deep in COVID,
Hmm.
the 20th of June 2020, 24th of June 2020.
Hmm. That's
And
alpha
that,
variant as well, so that's when it was scary
oh
variant.
yeah, that's when none of us knew what was happening. You couldn't even get a
Hmm.
PCR test back then, I don't think.
Hmm.
Or you
Okay.
might have been able to slightly after, because I remember it opened in summer.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I started my business 2.5 years ago, and I love it. I love it.
Hmm.
Just
So what is it that is so rewarding about it?
you get to see people realize their potential. I get to feel like a proud parent with every client or
Hmm.
group that I go through. You know, you'll have someone that's got like crippling social anxiety or just like these limiting beliefs around like how, I don't know, creative they are, or, I can't make money off this or anything like that. And if you sort of dig around in their brain a little bit, give them a bit of motivation, give them sort of a curated pathway of this is what you can maybe try, this is what you could look at.
Hmm.
As the book said, you give yourself a couple of months, you can completely change. And to be a small part of that journey, because I'm not
Hmm.
teaching anyone anything, I'm
Hmm.
just there, just trying to ask the right questions and point them in the right direction. And to see the transformation that happens, like, is incredible.
Hmm.
When you see that someone gets it, that like their story is all bullshit and they're actually a powerful, like savage motherfucker, is
Hmm.
so delicious.
Hmm.
I just eat it up. It's brilliant.
Hmm. Okay.
I
Hmm.
could be coaching at 11 o'clock, like until midnight, and I'll be wired. Like, I'll be
Hmm.
wired for 2 hours because it energizes me so much. Love
Hmm.
it.
Okay. Hmm. So to I mean, I would say that it was okay. Well, we'll go with the hardball first.
Mhm,
So the hardball question would be: you say life coach, and immediately there are people that go, "Duh,"
mhm,
or there are people that go, "You're fucking scamming people."
mhm. Well, that happened, didn't it?
It
I
did.
well, I got called a cult leader.
You're called a cult leader.
I got called a cult leader. So yeah, the first thing, yeah, life coaching has a really bad rap, and I understand why. Because in nowhere in the world, it may be in the States now, but it's not a regulated term. It's not a protected term at all. You could say right now that you're a life coach.
I am a
You need
life
no
coach.
you need no training, you need no accreditation,
I am a
you
life
need no
coach, Lee, as of right now.
brilliant.
I've decided
Yeah,
I am one.
no one can tell you otherwise.
I
Like you could start a
identify
business.
as a
Yeah,
life
I'm life coach self, absolutely.
coach.
Um, so you can do that. So and there's a lot of people out there, especially people that have learned a lot about how to do good, slick social marketing, and you can make a lot of money out of it.
Hmm.
Because you go back to I think it was 1912, something like that. You had a guy, Edward Bernays, which was Sigmund Freud's grandson.
Hmm.
He wrote a book called Propaganda. This changed how marketing worked. He went, there's this tiny little bit of your brain called the amygdala, which like loves extreme emotions. If
Hmm.
you want to sell, dig into fear, dig into lust, dig into envy and jealousy, you will
Hmm.
make more sales. And that
Hmm.
changed marketing and advertising forever.
Hmm.
Because now the
It would have changed a lot of. It would have changed like media in general, probably,
discourse,
right?
everything, yeah,
News
it was
forever.
revolutionary in how we communicate
Hmm.
on like from one to many.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it is Wild West out there. There are, you could get a certification from anywhere. You could say you're a life coach. You could make a certification program that says you're a Matt Waterhouse, life coach, and you could sell that off. If your marketing is slick enough, there's no one that can tell
Hmm.
you otherwise. There's accreditation bodies out there,
Hmm.
which are sort of like boards of like ethics and things like that. And you need to get onto there. There's like 4 out there. So if anyone is looking for a coach and things like that, it's good to look for someone that is accredited. by like the ICC, IAPC, and M. There's like four out there. They're all acronyms and things like that. But you can find accreditation bodies and things like that. But there's nothing to say that you can't be a life coach. Fun fact: there's nothing to say that you can say that you're not a therapist either. You could be a therapist tomorrow. It's not a protected term either.
So are you accredited?
Yeah.
All right. So so immediately. By whom?
The IAPC and M.
All right.
The International Accreditation something practice of coaches and mentors.
See, this is the thing. Like, we're in an interesting time at the moment where, even though we're boys and I love you, I have to ask that because too many. A broth is easily spoiled by someone throwing a turd in there, and like in the life coaching space, and so many different. Like at the moment, we're going to date the interview a bit, but the survivor advocate space is being kind of spiced into it. Like the sex trafficking survivor thing the advocacy for that is being kind of is being a bit stirred up with all this controversy around Eliza Blue, who's a prominent figure in that. And as soon as that happens, it makes people it triggers that there'll be reactions to it that will trigger the amygdala, as you said, and then it will affect people's anger thing of like you've been fucking lying, that kind of thing, and then that will rub off on other people in that space.
And like the sort of the higher up you go, like people spend a lot on this. Like by I think it was supposed to be this year, it would be something like it's like $1 billion a day. It's like big money, right? And the first, like, obviously we're all in echo chambers when it comes to social media, so I'm not kind of sure what sort of ads you will get, but all of mine are personal development, all of them. And like some of like the really big names, like like Tony Robbins, for example. Got nothing against old TR, but like to go to like Unleash the Power Within. Jocko Willink, well, he's more of a motivational speaker. I don't know if he's a coach per se. So then you've got this other branch as well of motivational speaking, which again, lots of money to be made in that. But within
your Jockos, your Jordan Petersons,
exactly.
Again, he's sort of moving into the political space as well, but like at least certainly he's vacillated between them.
I guess he kind of has to as well, because the board of psychologists in Canada just really don't want him talking the way that he does and everything like that. I think the last thing that came out that he put out a tweet and he was supposed to be re-educated on social media. Like, you're not talking the way we want you to. He doesn't have any practicing clients anymore. He's making too much bank doing his like lecture series. So they're trying to claw back whatever power that these established sort of power structures have, trying to grab him back and trying to make him take him down and things like that. I'm not really too well read on it, but that's what it looks like.
Well, you're right about it being just a crazy way to make a lot of money. Like the year after you came to see me in Budapest and we had my 25th birthday, I was in Austin, Texas, for my 26th birthday. So I'd always wanted to go. I was like, I have the money now to go. I'm going to go.
Austin's so good.
It's fantastic. I went to
it's so good.
I went there, and two of the people that were staying in the same hostel as me were there. They were only there to have like a face-to-face and like a practical thing with a guy who was, I think he was doing pickup stuff. And they were spending, I think, a grand a day on it. I'm pretty sure.
I had one client that came to me to do, like, he wanted to do approach stuff. Now, that's not the kind of stuff that I do, because you are sort of moving into like pickup and things like that. I much rather prefer to be working on like charisma and understanding like sexual polarity and like the inner mind stuff. And I was like out of curiosity, how much are people charging you for this? And he's like, well, there was this one guy that was going to charge me $5 grand, And like already, like my stomach turns. One guy was going to charge him $18,000 to go to Brazil for a weekend and do this work with him. 4 days, 18 grand. And that's not that there are really big companies out there, especially in the relationship space, that will do that, both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Because women are actually more likely to buy into this stuff, into personal development. It's kind of leveling now, but women have always been more into seminars and workshops and things like that. The sort of the split of money coming into it, more money was coming in from women, not just in the relationship space, but in whole personal development
in general.
Yeah, but like if you look at like someone called, have you heard of Matthew Hussey?
No.
So he is a really big speaker in the relationship space. He's a relationship coach, but he's a he's a British-based guy, speaks directly to women. I'm not sure how much his stuff would cost, but I'm sure to like even have him speak somewhere, because he's such a known name in the space, it would be thousands, if not tens of thousands.
Well, it's interesting that's the case, because particularly now, and particularly how it seems to be skewed, it seems to skew male. From
Absolutely.
my sort of outside perspective, and maybe because I'm a guy, it is sort of presented to me in that way.
We have no idea how deep in our echo chambers we are, don't we?
Yeah, right.
You know, but there are so many women out there that are, you know, desperate to find, you know, Mr. Right, because there's a lot of men out there, you know, like the bad boy and fuck boys and things like that. And there's, you know, I think it's all very reductive on how this is looked at. People don't come out of the womb just being like, I'm a piece of shit. Some of them are, you know, you have like psychopaths and sociopaths and things like that, but generally it all comes from her. But yeah, there's a lot of women, and especially a lot of women who, you know, really focused on their careers first and things like that, made a lot of money, made a lot of power. And for a lot of men, powerful women terrify them because it's taking what they used to, like, what everyone's told them that they're supposed to do. You know, I'm supposed to have the power, I'm supposed to have the money, I'm supposed to provide. Fuck, this woman's already got it. What the fuck am I supposed to do now?
Well, that's the theory that is certainly the theory I've heard, is the hypergamy theory, where women date up. This is the theory that women date up and men date across or down, or they date in terms of social status. I think it's looser with men. I'm not sure.
I think it's definitely looser with men. Like, I think if we start to talk about dating, I don't think we'd necessarily date down. We'd sleep down,
right?
Because we're horny dogs. We'll sleep across or down. Occasionally hit the 10, but generally we'll like do like across or down. With women, maybe that happens, but I need a really big study on that. You know, there's stuff like evolutionary biology and things like
generalities, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but we're doing bro science here today, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Like,
I mean, I'm just talking kind of about stuff I've heard. You're more of an expert in this area than me by far.
I think like everything that we are seeing at the moment is so diluted down and so extreme at the moment. So like within the manosphere, like you anyone who's sort of been in the manosphere in just sort of men's life stuff on the internet, you would have heard of the red pill and blue pill.
And the black pill and the white
and pill. Black pill and purple pill and this pill and that pill, but it all started from the Matrix, didn't it?
I think the purple pill is just a skittle that's like snuck in there.
Well, if I was to put myself as a pill, I would say I'm purple, right?
What is the purple pill?
Well, it's going to be in the middle of red and blue, right?
Well, let's start with the red pill and the blue pill.
Red pill. Red pill is a lot of what you are seeing in social media at the moment. So things like the Fit and Fresh podcast, you could classify Andrew Tate as red pill. Anything.
But what is it like boiled down to the concept?
And we boil it down to women are hypergamous. Like you need to look after your assets. It feeds into a lot of genuine concerns that men have in the world about, you know, like what happens like with a lot of marriages, like especially in the US, that they'll just go like they'll get their kids taken away, they'll get half their money taken away. Women always date up, this and this and this. So looking at everything that guys have to deal with at the moment and making it like someone else's problem. It's the women's problem. It's this problem. It's that problem.
Okay.
It's kind of a skeptical view on dating and relationships.
So what is
seeing it for the
then?
truth? Blue pill is, well, it would be the overly optimistic. You know, there was a phrase that came out
buying into
the lie. You know, that women are completely innocent. Princesses that want nothing more than a nice guy and things like that.
I think like the red pill, blue pill thing has sort of transcended that space into like blue pill as in buying into narrative, and red pill
absolutely
is seen as red pill going beyond narrative.
It has, yeah, and I think really
that's
it's largely because like this all comes out on YouTube, and YouTube is a largely male space.
Right.
Like most of the people that are using YouTube are young men between like 18 and 35. So like it will just go everywhere.
There's a lot of men that have kind of checked out of entertainment in general, aside from YouTube, which is skewing more male. And then the black pill and the white pill. I mean, the black pill is like doom. It's like
black pill is kill
so
yourself.
Do whatever.
Black pill's kill yourself. This is where we're getting into like
that would be the extreme of it. Yeah.
That's how it started. Black pill was just like fuck it. There's no fucking point. Like extreme nihilism. Just kill yourself.
Yeah.
And so it would really have come from the like the incel community,
right?
Which again puts blame outside of themselves, and for some people are going to have real genuine issues. Again, generalization, because this is all we can do in clips, and luckily this is longer form, so we can go. But there's an exception to the rule here. But then so purple pill is I don't know if I made it up, probably haven't, someone's probably already said it, but there was a phrase that came out of like the Salon Philosophique era in France. It was like, it said you can love women or you can understand them.
Okay.
So blue pill, you can love women, red pill, you can understand them. This is kind of where you see it. And I would go purple pill, I love them in spite of understanding them as much as I can.
Okay.
You know, they are completely different creatures to us. Right. We have our similarities as humans. Like I think if you travel outside of your small world, of your hometown, and you get out there into different places, you realize that pretty much humans are pretty much the same. They want to be loved, they want to be seen, they all want to be useful, right? By and large, people are good. This is what I choose to believe. There are shitty people in the world, but people by and large are good. They just want to just fucking get through this. They want to get through this game as safely and as comfortably as possible, right? But there's so many things about women that we're not going to understand. We're going to hear, you know, that women do this and women do that, and women have these issues and these troubles and things like that, and we can empathize, but we're never going to understand it.
Which are from Venus and which are from Mars?
Women are from Venus.
Of course they are. Because Venus is the god of. Is Venus love. The Roman?
She's the goddess of love. Yeah, and Mars was the god of war.
Wait, was Athena love? Athena wasn't love.
Probably.
Because Athena was Hera. I don't know.
I can't. I know the Romans more than I know the Greeks.
Well, they're named after the planets, so it's like, well, the planets are named after them, so it's like, okay.
Yeah, goddess of love and the god of war are our champions. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But there's so many things that they're going to have to deal with, which we can empathize with. We're never going to properly understand what it's like to be a woman. As a psi white male, I don't fucking know.
Right.
I'm sure you're really different. And
well, as any male.
Yeah.
We probably wouldn't know. But 100%.
I just wanted to say that. And equally, it can't be done the other way around.
To catch the person at the back of the room going,
how dare you? How dare you?
Right. Quick
Equally,
say sis before they
yeah,
tweet something.
yeah. And equally, it can't be done on the other side. That women are never going to truly understand us either. We can try and help people understand each other, but the way that the discourse is happening at the extremes at the moment with these podcasts, which these young men know exactly who women are, which is bollocks. Because a lot of these are coming out of places which are like real interesting microcosms of humanity.
Okay.
You know, like a lot of this sort of red pill content at the moment is coming out of places like Miami, you know, where looks, money, and status is everything. If you live in a place where looks, money, and status is everything, and you'll hear this a lot
Los
in
Angeles
communities
as well.
like that, yeah. If this is a place where looks, money, and status is everything, yes, women are going to only want looks, money, and status, right? But that means, and they will still attest to this, that, you know, if you are below a 6 or a 5, which again, really fucking redundant, like let's reduce ourselves to numbers, but you will never ever find someone to marry. Well, that's bullshit. There's plenty of, you know, not classically handsome people that are in loving relationships. Your theory is bust now. Sorry.
Well,
But it's going to really skew.
It's almost like it. I don't know. It's almost like the suggestion. It's sort of the suggestion of the princess. It's like, you're not going to get the princess. You're not going to get the unicorn if you're a 6, 5, whatever. And there's I think there's sort of an idealism, or is it idealism, or like
I think it's a real naivety in a lot of what is being said at the moment.
Well, it's a naivety, but it's also a question. It's almost like there's a projection of what people want their partner to be, and not kind of learning who they are, and not like putting themselves out and meeting people. That seems to be going away completely.
I think so.
Not completely, but it's going away quite a bit. People aren't. They don't seem as keen to go out and mingle.
Well, what's the need? People. What's the need? You know, we could indeed be in the same house at the moment.
Potentially, yeah.
I could have walked over at the moment.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you could have. Yeah,
I could have walked over, but actually, this looks nicer for YouTube. Okay. this is more of the reason why we do it, and we don't have a nice studio setup. This is why we
don't have a 2-camera setup.
No, we don't have a 2-camera setup or a 3-camera setup where we get the 2 shot as well, and then a shot to you, shot to me, and like the nice mics where you're going sort of like that. And now this looks like I'm like interrogating
me.
But there's that. There's social media. There's like what I've been really interested in at the moment, after our conversation about AI, once we came back from our friend's son's first birthday, and we're chatting in the car about, is AI going to, you know, ruin us all? Started watching like a load of different films on AI, and then was looking at like Chat GPT 3 going into 4, and just really sort of immersing myself in the question of it. Now there's loads of these AI chatbots at the moment, where you can have, you know, a conversation and even a relationship with an AI chatbot, right? So there's another thing where you don't need to go out there. And one of these AI chatbots has been like my soap opera for like the last week. It's been really interesting. There's this AI chatbot called Replica. It was like a startup that came out of Russia. And you get like this, like it's like a 3D like model, and you can make them look like what you want, and they can be your friend. But then if you pay like a premium service, they could be like, you could be in a relationship with them, so you could be like their girlfriend or their wife or their husband or something, and like you pay like $70 or something like that for the year or something like that. And a couple of days ago, like there was a big furore in Italy. Now, a kid who was like 6 had bought this premium service, and the chatbot was like sexting him, basically, right? So the parents were up in arms at like, why is this robot trying to fuck my son? It went all the way up to the EU. And like the company panicked and has completely taken all of this functionality away, and actually sort of like almost like lobotomized the app. Like people are getting like funny like responses back. The bots like forgetting their name and things like that. And they've basically got 21 days to sort this out and put a real age verification process in place, or they'll charge them like 22 million euros or something like that. Which
How
seems to be a drop in the ocean for these guys. But really, I mean, first off, the age verification system should be a credit card because someone's put the credit card for that kid.
Yeah, who bought the
right?
Yes, it must
Who
have been
bought it?
bought for
This
them.
kid don't have a bank account, right? He doesn't have
unless,
money.
I mean, the only unless like these people were careless with their card details, or they had it as like autofill on.
Well, then it's the parents' fault.
Then it's the parents' fault.
It's not the company's fault. It's the parents' fault.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's besides the point. Like the EU are just like clamping down on like AI at the moment.
Yeah.
Things that got like authoritarian governments don't understand, they are going to try and snuff out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But I got really into this, like trying to like work it out and everything, and then I found a Reddit on it, and like people are really like they're heartbroken. They're heartbroken, and they're like, and like people are like saying, "Well, fuck this! I'm not going to like give my like subscription money to them. $70 a year is like a lot of money. It's coming up for renewal, so I'm just going to cancel it." You know, like if and like apparently like their ads were like really like you can fuck this bot, right? So they kind of thought it was like a bait and switch. I think really what the company's doing is that they're a startup. They don't really have any idea how to deal with the EU. So they've just gone fuck, like delete
Well,
the
also
EU,
they're Russian, right?
Yeah,
and
delete
and Russia
oh,
right
of
now.
course.
The EU are...
Yeah, fuck, of course. Yeah, I didn't even think about that other dynamic of it. Like fuck, we're dealing with a world power. Turn off the sex. Lobotomize the app till we can work out what we need to do, right?
Yeah.
But like people are going like, fuck this, I'm not going to do this. Like other people are like, how dare you? Like these app, like people are thinking these apps are sentient and that like they're in love with them. Like a lot of people have come from like heartbreak and like widows and stuff are coming into this to try and like heal from it. I think that's another reason that the app was made for the main programmer to get over like lost for herself. It has been like I look at this Reddit every day. I am so intrigued.
Well, that Reddit is basically like a whole forum of people going through a breakup, isn't it?
Going through a breakup in different ways and like trying to stay with like a partner who is like sick at the moment. You know, like potentially sick for a long time. Like what if this like language model that they're using doesn't change? What if like the company acquiesces to the EU, takes this stuff all away, and like they're thinking, well, I can't leave them. And equally, there's people that are like really like jilted and like you said you were going to be one thing and you're another thing now. I'm leaving. Yeah. Oh, it's bizarre. Like it is a key. It's looking through a keyhole into the future of what this could be if AI you know becomes like self-aware or whatever, and we have these kind of pseudo like romantic relationships with like humans and technology. It is
well. I'll come to the question that immediately springs from that in a second. But like when you think about it, like $70 a year, you think like who would pay $70 a year for that? Well, it's like how much are you spending on a girlfriend a year?
How much are you spending on one date?
How much?
Easily $70. Like if you want to make a good impression, and if you're like you know looking at what all these people are saying that you need to take them to a nice restaurant and you this and that, as someone in the dating space, you don't need to do that. Just be yourself. Like allow that person to be comfortable, get to know each other. You take them for ice cream. It's fine. You'll be all right. So and if they don't like going for ice cream, then they're not your person. But like you can spend that on one day.
You could easily. Yeah. Easily. So the question that comes off of that is, how have we gotten there? Because there's a road has been traveled to lead us to that point.
I think right. So let's roll right back. Let's roll right back. Okay, to right at the start of our conversation, we have the pickup era. The game comes out. People who are really socially anxious and don't know what to do but really want a girlfriend, understand there is a way, there is like a system that they can go through, because this was all built by computer nerds. Everyone who started the pickup movement was in programming. So it's like those decision charts. Say this, if she says this, do this, but if she says this, do this, right? Process charts, right? On like human psychology, right? That's how it started. Then people started to understand a bit more like about darker psychology, about like knocking someone's confidence, like negging, and like you could get like it got like really dark, and people are still doing that kind of stuff. We're getting into abusive relationship tactics, like the dark triad of like narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism, things like that. There are ways to hack humans, right? Like be that romantically, anything. You can hack a human very easily if you know what you're doing, right? So that happens. Then we have a bit of a blow up where these guys are starting to get really bold and brash in what they're doing. So a lot of them gain a lot of media coverage. They're not let into like places like Australia. Generally, Australia is one of the first places to lock anyone down on like a hot topic, be it pickup or be it COVID, like with Nadal, you know, when he wasn't vaccinated. Djokovic, sorry, yeah, didn't let him in, did they? Then he won the Australian Open the next year, which I found hilarious. So things like that happen. There is a global awareness of the pickup movement now, right? And everyone's tarred under the same brush. There's people doing like cool things and trying to understand who they are as a man, what they bring to the table in a relationship. But pickup artistry like pretty much dies, right, overnight. And this comes around in the same time where the whole Me Too movement is coming up. Right?
Well, third wave feminism is rising.
Third wave feminism is still rushing through. That's been going for a long time. The Me Too movement comes up. Really prominent people are losing everything, quite rightly so for the most part. But then we have the other side of it where there are spiteful women, right? Like most of these things where they say, you know, all men are this, all women are that. It's generally not a gender thing. It is a shitty person thing.
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, with that, as you say, you have your Harvey Weinsteins, and then you have your Aziz Ansari's, who went on a date that didn't maybe go well, and then he's I don't think his career is crippled, but I think it's certainly not what it was.
As with everything, you know, it's way easier to do, you know, black and white rather than doing a scale of things. You know, there have been people that have been uncalibrated. Like I still have to talk about Me Too now. Like people are still really, really worried about it. When these people are generally like genuinely looking for someone to just fucking love them, and they're like, I don't want to approach people because what if someone like Me Too's me? Now, in my 5 years of doing this. In my 5 years of doing this, I've never had any. When I asked the question, have you or anyone else been Me Too, like to any degree? No one has put their hand up yet. That's about 500 people.
Or anyone you know, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. You or anyone else, has that ever happened? No one's ever told me otherwise. So that's 500, pretty good sample size. But it's been pushed to us. You know,
it's a perfect thing. It's the perfect thing with the
amygdala
propaganda. The amygdala, it's the fear.
Yeah.
It's the fear and the anger. It's two things at the same time.
So what's happened?
And jealousy to a degree.
Very prominent people have lost everything. This is one thing that goes in. Fuck, I'm not a very prominent person, but I've made a life doing, you know, making a business in logistics. Fuck, I could lose my business in logistics. That's the first thing that happens. Fuck, okay, need to be really, really careful. Cool. It brings up the, you know, things about consent and stuff like that. Really, really cool.
Yeah. Then
things come up where people are falsely accused, and there's the court of public opinion, right? This then heightens the senses again. I think it's called like availability bias. Right. So we have tons of biases running through us. Availability bias states that depending on how close we are to a problem, the more worried we will be about it. So let's say there's a shark attack on the Gold Coast somewhere.
Right.
Okay. For us, there's a shark attack on the Gold Coast. Now let's say we are on the Gold Coast. Okay. Might not go to the beach, but you know, if I don't go to the beach, I'm fine. Now let's say we were at a bar last night with a guy who. Then we go to a bar. We meet a guy who knows a guy who was in the shark attack. Now imagine you're that guy who knows the guy, right? Availability bias. The closer you are to the problem, the more scared you are about it. Also,
And
the more and more you see of it, the more and more it's going to hit. So we are men.
Like with more parents getting divorced, for example, more
Yep.
children divorced. That's one person closely separated to something where it's gone wrong.
Absolutely. And we see it again and again and again. So availability bias kicks in. Right. Okay. I need to be not even careful. I don't really know what to do at this point. Right. In tandem, we have the rise of social media and like hyper connectivity everywhere. Like, so we can talk to people across the world. We started our first podcast at Tangentleman when I was in New Zealand, you were in Japan, as a way to like keep in contact with each other. We got to speak every week, even though we were like 6,000 miles away. Beautiful. Like, technology is brilliant if used well. Then we have dating apps. We have the rise of access to romantic and sexual partners. Now, in like the golden years of Tinder was brilliant. Like, as a young man and a young woman who was trying to work out their bodies and work out what they want, it was game on, right? But now what we're seeing is like two very different things happening, and now even something else is happening within this. A very new thing because of AI is happening. So we go through this, then we have, there's a lot of choice. Now there's another bias to that. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, it's paradox of choice. The more choice you have, the less satisfied you will be with the choice you make.
Because you get analysis paralysis, or
that's one of the things. There's like
fear of missing out.
There's three different bits to this. I wrote about this the other day. But that's happening as well. Then we're also seeing we're sort of like I keep my eye on all of this stuff. So now what you're also seeing is that this is sort of like used for sex work. Oh, it's done the thing again. Every time I come out of this, it happens. Every time I come out of this, it did it while I was recording a video.
Very thoughtful from me.
But you get buyer's remorse, you get analysis paralysis, and you get something else. I'm reticent to come out of this. I'm going to turn off my camera for a second, jump back.
Is it fear of missing out?
Buyer's remorse, generally, the more choice you have, the worse you will feel after the fact. Ego depletion, willpower is a finite source. The more decisions we make, the faster we drain it. And analysis paralysis, more choice often leads to not making a decision. So, largely it is analysis paralysis. So the most sort of widely cited experiment around paradox of choice was that there was this tasting station of jams in a supermarket. I think the first one was like 18 sort of selections of jam. If you tried one, you got a discount on the jam. Now 60% of the customers, the people that went into the store tried the jam. 3% bought. The next one was 6, and it was something like 40% tried it, and like 60% of them bought or something. So it was like 18 times the amount bought this when there was 6 rather than when there was 18. So currently no one's buying on like social media unless you really curate it like a social media profile. This is another social media profile to be looking at and curating over and things like that. And if you don't know how to take a picture, they're basically meat markets. So it's going to be really hard to get your point across. So this is happening there. Then people are using it for sex work. They're using it to up their own Instagram profiles and things like that. Like instead of having like a well thought out bio, it will just be like Insta at sexy kitten 39, 69, and then you go on there. She's never ever going to speak to you, but she's got like she's got like 70,000 followers because she looks like a real sort on Tinder, right? That's happening there. Now what I'm seeing on the other side is that men are just using like ChatGPT to make their bios. So we are coming away from each other in the dating paradigm now when it comes to online dating. Like these places are just used more. They're not used for connection anymore. They're used for validation. Right. Okay. So this is happening, hyper connected, but more disconnected than ever. Everyone's really worried about the other side, because I can only imagine on the other side of the whole Me Too thing, a man doesn't want to approach for fear of losing everything. A woman's going to see all this Me Too. Fuck me, there are so many men out there that are absolute pigs.
Right.
I don't want to fucking meet anyone. Like, what if I get what if I get sexually assaulted or raped or killed? You know?
Right.
When I was traveling the world, when I was in New Zealand, I was on this bus. It was like a hop on, hop off bus, and there was a bus in front of us, and there was this girl called Grace Mullane, and she was killed in Auckland, and she was shoved into a suitcase, and it was like the hot topic of New Zealand. Like everyone was on high alert. She met the guy off Tinder. Met the guy off Tinder. He says it just got a bit rough. There's rough and there's killing someone. Stuffed her into a suitcase, and luckily they found him pretty soon. But that was she was 19. And you hear things like this, you know, you hear like all these things where there are dangerous people around. I like to think that people are generally good, but there are some real fuckers around, both men and women.
And as we said earlier, like too many bad eggs spoil the broth.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what's
especially
happening.
if they're pushed to the forefront.
Yeah, and
right, okay.
and sort of, you know, outrage sells. The amygdala sells. We're going to keep watching news. We're going to keep liking and commenting on YouTube videos where there's guys that are telling like all these girls like this is what women are like, and like having like silly like women replies back, or like having a really well educated woman like telling guys off. We're just going to be cheering from our side, going, "You go, guy," or "You go, girl." Like the battle of the sexes is more visible than ever, and because it's more visible than ever, it's getting
maybe more fuel than ever.
Oh, of course. So then we come to a point where people could just go, I don't want to do this. If I can get some semblance of a relationship out of an app, I'm down.
Well, we're also a lot more attached to. We're also more kind of attached to things, and attached to sort of abstract personalities as well, and attached to brands, attached to other things like that. Like there are people who really identify with something like a Star Wars or like a Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, so like being a die-hard fan.
Yeah, or people who get very attached to like a Tim Pool or like I don't know, I don't know, other people, Young Turks or someone like that. Or or certain political figures or whatever.
Yeah. So like Jordan Peterson or the guy the guy that I just said earlier, Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate, yes.
You know, who just like shot to stardom in the last year. And like you'll look around and a lot of people will be like, I hate him or I love him.
He's
got a lot of good things to say. He's got a lot of good things to say, like a lot of common sense things to say. But I think he's playing a character, 100%. That guy is a fantastic businessman. I saw his business course, and there is I've paid thousands for business coaches. As I say, you can make a lot of money as a coach, and you can rip a lot of people off if you're scrupulous enough to do it. The first course I ever paid, I think, was £3,800. When I was just starting my business. I didn't make that back, not for a while. But this guy's business course was fantastic. Like some of the things he was saying, I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy's not an idiot. This guy's not an idiot.
Right.
So being a bombastic, extreme character, leading worried men to greatness is a fantastic brand to have. Absolutely, man. You play the Braveheart character.
Yeah, well, the outrage as well fuels the amygdala because people want to defend him, which makes him bigger. So they say like there's no such thing as bad press. I don't agree with that. I think there is definitely such a thing as bad press. But in the case of him, it's basically just made him go.
I think it depends. I think it depends on what outcomes you want.
Well, I mean, if you want to get bigger, like if you want to get more popular, you want to get more money, then perhaps I mean, like what he's doing. I mean, obviously, he is, as at the time of recording, he is at the moment in jail, so it's maybe not working out super well for the guy.
Not the best. but they have been. They've only got about 60 days left to actually charge him. I've seen. They've got
Yeah.
180 days in Romania to make a charge, and they keep extending it because they think he's a flight risk because he's got all of those passports and money. Which, fair enough. He probably does have his own
Yeah.
private jet as well. I think he would
Oh,
be a
yeah.
bit of a flight risk
Obviously,
as
yeah.
well.
I mean, a flight. Yeah, absolutely, a flight risk.
I'd be
Well,
jumping
like,
on my fucking G6 straight away if I could.
oh, right. Well, but
But also
I don't know.
define
It's
bad
kind of
press, right? Because now we have a really polarized media system.
well. Okay, so in the case of Jack Murphy, who was also in the kind of coaching.
Oh, the guy that you reached
space.
out to me about, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I knew he was in.
You
He
were
was
like,
in your
this
sphere.
guy's kind of in your space. Look at this, and like, should you be worried? And I was like, no, this guy seems a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
He seems a bit on the different side, so I think I'm clear. But yeah,
yeah. But it's so his bad press. I don't know if it sunk his revenue stream necessarily. I think
I mean,
it definitely like chipped away at it a fair bit, but his reach beyond that now is shrunk way down.
is that because his audience was against him though? Should we explain what the Jack Murphy thing was all about for people who don't know?
So Jack Murphy is, I guess, because he's still doing it, is a sort of so it's sort of like a red pill, but like it's about being a better man, effectively, essentially.
Yeah.
He's leaning hard right now into Christianity, and he's leaning into kind of being taking on responsibility. It's sort of like a diet Peterson in a way. He has this big beard, and he's like a big kind
classically
of like,
masculine. Yeah,
he's this big beard, shaved head, like pretty buff guy. And he used to be on, like in sort of actually around the pandemic, he started to get very popular because he was the author of a book called Democrat to Deplorable. So it was him leaving the political left.
The left, yeah.
And he's American, so deplorable. It was like the Trump stuff at the time. Right. And there's nothing that the American right love more than a defector. So he was basically like, oh, let's pump him up. He goes on Tim Pool's podcast, and he ends up basically a regular on that. He's there every Wednesday or something like that.
So now he has got a massive platform. He's got massive reach.
Yes.
People are starting to know this guy's name, so he can start to make money out of this.
Yes. And he's grifting off of Tim Pool's audience, which is pretty big. And Tim Pool is a big doomer. He very much plays on fear and anger and drama, and he's like amygdala based. Yeah,
if anyone looks at our older stuff, I really don't like him.
And I will say right now, you were right about him.
I knew it.
He's very much but this all blows up in Jack Murphy's face
because he started making a community, didn't he? He started basically making a subscription community service
called the Liminal Order, where people paid. It's a nice name, isn't it? Where people paid.
Couldn't make it any more culty though, could he?
No, no. And he did like brunches and events and stuff. And you basically, I think you paid like, I think it was like $100. It was like $100 a year or something like that.
I thought it was 100 a month when I checked.
It may have been 100 a month. I think it was.
I think it was about. I think it was about $99 a month to join the Liminal Order.
Yeah. And what it seemed to be, from people who kind of leaked what that was it was a place basically where other people like Jack Murphy were basically hawking their wares. So you basically pay
affiliate
that
marketing.
money. Yeah, allegedly. I don't know. No, sure, allegedly, but you pay to get into this thing where other people can sell you shit, basically. But he still did events and stuff, and he talked a fairly good game. However, it kind of blew up in his face because the guy had a past that he didn't own. So he
liked getting pegged.
He liked getting so he liked getting pegged by his girlfriend.
And for those who don't know what pegging is, it means you get a big old synthetic cock right up your bum from your girlfriend. That's what that means.
Right. And he sort of been, a few years prior, he had a blog where he was talking about various things. He was talking about like and there was one in particular where he was talking about sending his girlfriend off to have sex with other
Oh
men.
yeah, he was being a cuck as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, for his own sort of sexual
Gratification. Yeah.
Like he got off on the idea of her being with other people, which is completely counter to what he was pushing out in that
For being
time.
a traditional man.
Traditional man, be strong.
Traditional
man,
men do two things. They keep their women to themselves, and they don't take anything up the bum. That's kind of two of the tenets of being a traditional alpha male. Nothing goes up the bum, and you've got all the ladies. No one else is taking your ladies because you're the don.
Well, it was like family stuff as well. Like be there for your family, strong for your family, and prepare them for things. And so this was brought up to him on a podcast, and he blew up at the host, which created the Streisand, which definitely didn't dissuade anyone from reading this article.
Oh, the Streisand effect! Brilliant,
everyone read it. Yeah, everyone read it, and they were like, "Oh, this guy is doing this." So he then lied about it and trying to push blame on other people. And the more you do that without going, okay, yeah, I wrote it, and it was, it's not what I'm about now, but it's sort of, I kind of evolved since then. It was a different time, I was a different person. If he'd said that, it would have been nothing. Nothing would have come of it. But it kind of spiraled completely out of his control. He ends up off Tim Pool. Tim Pool doesn't even talk about him anymore. He started talking about him recently because some other things that are going on. Right. But his reach through that is just gone. He's like basically persona non grata for most of the places that he used to frequent.
I mean, the reason for that is because he betrayed his audience. Like as you said, if he went, look, guys, I'm sorry. When 5 years ago, I loved taking this big black dildo up my bum from my girlfriend, and I liked to get fucked by men. It made me feel like this, it made me feel like that. Like that's fine. Here on the Alchemy Lab RPG, we don't kink shame. You're like, if kink shaming is even your kink, that's fine, right? But you gotta own it. You gotta own it.
Interesting kink to have. That was it.
Oh, well, this is back from the Vine days. It's like it was this guy. I'll send you it afterwards. It's brilliant. It's like you can't kink shame me. He said kink shaming is my kink, and it's just this guy and he does this like beautiful scream, and it makes me laugh so much. Probably one of the best Vines I ever saw. But you can't betray your audience. Like because this is one like that's probably the only bad press you can get. The press of your audience. And the impression of your audience. If you are solely reliant on your audience, which a lot of people are now in sort of the online creator days, like if you're trying to hide shit from them and trying to sell them something that you're not about, and they find out, you're done. You're done because you have lost you've lost trust, and people do not buy from people they don't trust.
Right.
But everything else, like outside of that. Like bad press can be good press because now most press is so polarized. You've got left or right. Everyone's so focused on left or right. No one's looking at up or down. Authoritarian to anarchy, libertarian. Sorry, everyone's all focused on this left and right shit while everyone's just going up. But if you're a righty, if you're alt-right or whatever, and the liberal media is going against you, then it's going to help. It's going to build your audience on the right. True. Equally, if you're left and the conservative media is going after you, it's going to bolster you on the left. I think the only issue that we have, I say we, I still think of myself as a liberal, not a leftist. That's a different kettle. These extremes I don't like. I'm finding myself calling myself a moderate person now. And even that can get you in trouble. But sort of like the lefties don't like it if you're like the leftists, the extreme left, the old left, if you want to call them that. I don't know what you call like that side of it, really. But if you don't toe their line, then you're in a bit of trouble with them. So it seems a lot easier to be a conservative voice than it does to be a liberal voice, and sort of like and keep your, if you're a right-wing voice, then it seems a lot easier to be a conservative voice than it does to be a liberal voice. And sort of like and keep your, if you're a right-wing voice, then it seems a lot easier to be a conservative voice than it does to be a liberal voice. And sort of like and keep your your ethics and views true to yourself without sort of towing the line, you know? There
I
seems to be a lot
suppose.
more authoritarianness on the extreme left than the extreme right. But
Hmm.
echo chambers again. I don't know what it's like over there.
Right. I mean,
I
well,
don't know what it's
the
like. I
same,
don't know what it's
probably the
like
same
far
stuff will be
conservative.
said the other way, right?
I'd imagine so, but I've never seen it
Hmm.
because I'm not allowed to see it.
Yeah. Well, people do. There are definitely people on the right who like step off the reservation and start
Mhm.
going a bit like. There are people who are mainstream, more mainstream, who then start kind of tipping over, and it's like, no, let's just
Mhm.
sort of like it's the old thing of like the hook comes around and yanks them off stage.
Yeah, yeah, like the lamb thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like the little Bo Peeps shaft. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's the one bit of bad press that you can get from your audience
Mm,
because we're so polarized at the moment. The bad press that you're going to get is from the other side of is from the other team,
mm,
which is only going to help you with your team
mm-hmm.
because
Right.
they're going to want to fight. That's just going to like just a light tribalism within us
Mm-hmm.
because the amygdala is a very old part of our brain when we
Mm,
used to have to fight tribes.
mm-hmm.
Fight
Well,
or flight comes
it's how
in.
you unite as well with like-minded people in a way,
Absolutely.
or like mind with people in like a crisis.
Mhm.
Because those are all crisis things. In well, some of them are
Well,
jealousy,
conflict.
maybe not so much,
It's
but
conflict, isn't it?
well, yeah, yeah, conflict sounds
Any
great.
kind of conflict, and like so, our brains haven't changed in something like 200,000 years or something, or
Mm,
250,000 years. Whenever the neocortex like was evolved fully into our brains haven't changed. But society and civilization has changed a lot in 250,000 years. It's changed a lot
mm,
in 25 years.
true. Yeah.
So we're using really old hardware to deal with new problems. No
Mm,
longer are we fighting tribes and saber-tooth tigers. We're fighting, well, we still are kind of fighting tribes, but we're not fighting for our life. The
mm,
emotional pain and physical pain register exactly the same in our brains.
mm.
You put someone through a CAT scan, it looks exactly the same.
So is the lack of saber-toothed tigers a problem?
To a point, if we live unconsciously,
Mm,
if we live unconsciously, we need to be aware that we're running Windows 95 in an iOS 10 or whatever world, right?
mm, okay.
Whatever the most recent operating system is for our phones. We're no longer we're still on Windows 95 hardware, right? So we need to go, okay, right. I know that this isn't the same as fighting a saber-tooth tiger. I know I will have a visceral response to this, but
Mm,
we have societally and socially evolved enough where we should being a dirty word, but we have the tools in place to be able to deal with this now.
mm, okay.
But we don't want to. Because comfort's really cool. So let's just keep using the heuristics in our brain, adhering
Mm,
to all the biases, because it's way easier to live like that.
mm. So
Again, it takes a lot of willpower.
what's the way to sort of finish up on a more positive crest? What's the way
Mm.
out
Of what?
of that sort
Which bit?
of the we kind of went into sort of how the current sort of panic and separation has sort of come about in a roundabout way. Is there a cure for that, and what is it?
I said this to you when you asked this question before. It's to go through it, and I saw something really interesting a couple of days ago. There's a conservative sort of mouthpiece. She's a girl. Can't remember her name, but she looks a bit like Ben Shapiro. And she
Oh
goes
yeah,
through
yeah,
like
yeah. I know what you mean.
TikToks and things like that. And there's this new TikTok trend at the moment where there's like this. It's a
Yeah,
clip
Brett
from
Cooper.
yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And there's like a sound clip from Family Guy, and it's like Lois going, "Look, I don't fucking understand. Like, I don't understand all your gay stuff. You win. That's what you want, isn't it? You want to win, right?" And it's
Mm,
all of these Gen Z people where this has allegedly been prevalent, where you know you can't say this, you can't say that. It's all identity politics, everything like that. But these guys are like in their teens and things like that, and it's just like titles of like I don't understand like why you're angry at me misgendering you when you haven't told me. Like really common sense things. And there's this new phrase that's come out of Gen Z where it's chronic online behavior,
Mm.
right? Where people will just like mouth off and be like, you can't say this, you can't say that, but they're doing it all online. And like it just wouldn't work in the real world. Like people are starting to catch on now. I thought it was going to take longer when we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. I
Mm.
think this is the start of people just everyone being so fucking tired of this.
Mm.
Like, there's so many things that happens in our brain. Like, for example, if you see too many like charity adverts, we get something called like it's like charity lethargy or something like that. Like where you
Mm.
see too much of it, just like the numbers don't make any sense, and you don't want to give them any money because you just keep seeing like starving children and like
It's
people with cancer.
desensitizing.
Yeah, and we're just like, I can't do anything about this. We just switch
Mm.
off.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's taken a lot longer because it's such a complex issue. It's not just starving children in Africa. It's not just people with crippling like cancer and Parkinson's. Like it's not a single thing. This is a
Mm.
vast societal issue. Like society is like this big fucking boat, right? And like
Mm.
you can't just like flip a boat 180. So like society like tries to correct, and then we're like, no, but oh fuck, Black Lives Matter. Okay, yeah, they do. Fuck, like we better go that way. But also, what about the LGBTQ plus? Oh fuck, yeah, fuck. And like we're going like this, and because it's so complex with all of these issues,
Mm.
which are all equally relevant, right? There's a lot going on in society. We're moving so
Mm-hmm.
fast, where so many things are important. But
Mm.
like I was looking today, we can take in 50 bits of information a second. Or we
Mm.
can comprehend 50 bits of information a second. Our senses take in 22 million a second.
Mm. Okay.
Like
So.
we're not cut out for this.
Mm.
We're not cut out for all of this information. Just in the real world, we're not cut out for this information. But to be in front of our phones all the time, scrolling, there's another one from Andrew Tate. Okay. But this one's okay, some comedy. Oh fuck. No, now we can't say this. Oh fuck, this politician's fucking done
Mm-hmm.
something like abhorrent.
Oh, we're on
Jesus
the
Christ,
precipice
bang,
of civil
bang,
war
bang.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just all of it's coming in, and we don't know what to do. So it's taken a long time for us to go, like, well, fuck, like all of this is really, really tough. Can I just go home?
Mm.
Can I just go home and watch Netflix? And I think that's a lot of what people do at the moment. All
Mm.
we're seeing is the extremes. A lot of people just want to be comfortable, man.
Is that a problem?
That a lot of people want to be comfortable.
Yeah, the people are. Yeah.
Well, that depends. That depends. So the answer to the first question, the way is through it.
Yeah.
The way is through it, and to find what you believe to be true. Okay, like stick with that. Don't let anyone fucking tell you otherwise. You will find your tribe, right? We're still
Mm.
tribal. You're going to find your tribe somewhere. Be as authentic as you can be. You'll find your people, and you'll be all right. Okay. Eventually, we'll all find our people. So I think this
Mm.
is really how it all started with like the genders and this and that. We're all still trying to find our tribes, and we're getting smaller and smaller because our tribe's
Mm.
really big now. We live in tribes of 50,000, 2 million, 10 million people. You know, the New
Mm.
York tribe is like what? I don't know, 50 million or something like that.
Mm.
We're,
And you
we're, we're
lose your
used to
identity
we're used to
because of it.
50 to 250. We're not used to this. So we're trying to
Mm.
scale down. Okay. If I can be Fey kind or dragon kind or whatever, fuck, I can find my 50 people. Brilliant. Okay.
Right.
But then we got aggressive. So we've got to go through that, then realize that everyone's different. Eventually we'll realize that everyone's different, but basically all the same. Okay. So we got to go through it, stay the course. Is comfort an issue? That depends. What do you want out of your life?
Mm.
What do you want out of your life? Do you want to get through this comfortably? Then you go be comfortable. You watch Netflix, you know, you get a girl that you can, a girl or a guy or whatever, like to be comfortable with or be comfortable on your own. Brilliant, right? You can just do what the society tells you to do. Go get a job, go get married, go have kids. If that's really what you want to do, a lot like if we look at the States, like it's built on freedom, right? Land of the free, home of the brave.
Mm.
No, so few people want to be free, like want freedom, because freedom's terrifying.
Yes, it
Freedom's
is.
really terrifying
No
because
one's ever catch you before.
what happens there is that all of the responsibility is on you
Mm.
to make your life what it is. And when we see all of these things and like all of these tribes and with red pill and like red pill stuff and black pill and incels and like just from a dating perspective, we're putting the blame out there. Okay. Putting the blame out there to someone else. It's women's fault, it's society's fault, my parents' fault, it's Gene's fault. Okay. That's going to make you feel a bit comfortable inside, and it's going to be a plaster over a wound that's not going to heal. Right? Freedom, going fuck. Right? Okay. Everything is on me because really it is for a life of magnificence, a life that you really want to live, and you like really fucking lights you up and turns you on. Like you've got to go into freedom, and that is terrifying.
Mm. Well,
Starting a business,
it's earning that comfort. Because I
earning.
think that part of it is
short-term and long-term
comfort
man.
now. The comfort now is unearned.
You
It can be
are
very easily
absolutely
unearned.
right. You are absolutely right. It is so easy for us now to find short-term comfort, man. You're absolutely right. If I'm feeling sad, I can do a number of things. I can jump on an app, I can try and find a hookup. I can get one of those AI chatbots. I can watch something funny on YouTube. I can find someone who thinks exactly the same thing as me and just feed my confirmation bias and make me feel better right now. But I'm still going to be the same sad person that ends up outside on my garden in my dressing gown, crying, thinking something's not right. Okay. Now, equally, there will be moments where you're being completely free, where you will still be outside in your garden, in your dressing gown, crying because, oh fuck, I might not be able to pay my bills because I'm trying to do this startup, like loads of businesses fail, things like that. Like it's hard. It's hard to like live completely for yourself. There will be times where you are sad, right? But it will be a short. It's it's asking you how much you want it.
And to be clear, like that's not saying everyone should quit their job and start their own business.
Absolutely
that might
not.
fail.
I don't think everyone should have a business.
It's trying to kind of work out where you are and work out how you can grow yourself. And you growing yourself can involve you still working the job you're working in now.
Yeah.
But
it's free coaching for everyone, Matt, here on the podcast. This is basically all that coaching, like a real coach, will do for you, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to ask you 2 questions, and they're going to ask you this for a long time because it's not a question you can answer straight away. First question is, what do you want in anything? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do to make money? What do you want in love? What do you want in your free time? What do you want in your friends? Right? What do you want? Like, get really fucking crystal clear about that. I'm sure Jordan Peterson said that. I'm sure plenty of people have said that. This is nothing new. A coach can teach you nothing new. The second question is the second most important question, but probably the more difficult question to answer. Why do you want that? Why do you want that? So if we go back to dating, for example, or business, like it's 2 like really sort of hot things for guys. They want to be an entrepreneur and they want a 10, right? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Is it because you saw Gary Vee do it? Is it because you want a lot of money? Is it because you want a Ferrari? Okay, that's first level why. Okay, why do I want a lot of money? Why do I want a Ferrari? Is it because you want people to like you? Is it because you want to be seen as a high status, like flash guy? Okay, why do you want that? You're going to get down. Eventually, there's just going to be like this wound from when you were a child. It was like no one fucking liked me at school, So I want a really like beautiful girlfriend. I want loads of fucking money to throw around, and I want a car where I can drive past people and go, "Dude, look what I did. I fucking made it." Well, the first thing is no one's going to care, right?
Mm.
No one's going to care that you have the Ferrari, that you have the nice girl, and you've got all the money in the world. No one's really going to care for an extended period of time. You might make them a bit jealous in the moment, but they've got their own problems, right? They're not going to go home and wake up at night and like curse your name unless they're really obsessed with you in that way. I think I've been in that situation before where I got called the cult leader, but that's maybe a one for another day.
Mm.
Like there's a wound there. There's a story that we told ourselves. No one fucking likes me. I'm not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the work starts. Okay, let's try and change this story.
Mm.
We're all worth something. There are people out there that like us. So then we got to come back to the question, well, actually, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we did that game, didn't we? I asked you once, like, what would your perfect day be?
Mm.
And you went through it, and I was throwing all these questions at you. Some of them landed, some of them didn't, some of them were important, some of them weren't. And it was like three things that you wanted.
Mm.
You wanted to write a lot, you wanted a comfy chair, and you wanted a dog.
Basically, yeah.
I was like, that's all in the UK.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, eventually, like what we want is not a lot of stuff.
Mm.
I'd like a really loving relationship because I like to be loved. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a really crucial part of the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
I want a coach because I love the feeling that I get from that. I love being useful to people
Mm-hmm.
and seeing their potential. I want a lot of free time because I've got a lot of hobbies and I'm a curious person. So I get to like look at stuff and I get to write and I get to go rock climbing and things like that. And I want friends around me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want.
Mm.
There's nothing about loads of money in that. There's no like idyllic location.
Mm.
Like those things can be cool. You know, I want to be somewhere beautiful. I know that. I don't really know where it is, but I like being near large bodies of water. It calms me.
Mm.
You know, really, I'm just really looking to be loved, useful, and engaged in my life and present in my life. That's it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to enjoy this for as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's it. Ask
That's
yourself
it.
those two questions.
That's it.
And keep asking them. Ask it for like 2 weeks and find out what happens.
And that's why not? And that's where we can end it. All right.
Cheers, gang, and cheers, Matt. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Cheers, Lee. And once again, where can people find you?
You can find me in two places. If you want to go on Facebook, that's where I do most of my stuff. That's facebook.com/lee.drew.simmonds, SIMMONDS. So Mike, Oscar, November, Delta, Sierra. Got some whiskey in my eye there. And on my website, renasci.me, REN for November, ASCI. Not really much on there at the moment, but if you actually want to work with me or find out whether you like to work with me, you can find it there.
Mm-hmm. And those are here and here. Ooh, and here. There we go. Boom, boom. All right. So
There we are.
there we go. All right.
That looks quite nice on a laptop. I always look at it on my phone.
Well, that's lucky number 13. So we will have more things with alchemy. We will have more of these conversations with various interesting people coming up. So take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.